evening, viewers. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Matthias Ofiku, news editor of the Namibian Sun newspaper. Welcome to another edition of Evening Review. Let's have a look at today's headlines. Well, we're joined in studio tonight by the spokesperson, the parliamentary spokesperson of the Landless People's Movement, Ms. Utaara Mootu. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you for having me.
It's indeed a pleasure having you here.
Well,
we just see you on TV, very busy in Parliament.
Yeah, we're quite busy.
Yeah, can you just give us a rundown of last week's incident at the State of the Nation address?
Well, with regards to the SONA, Matthias, we have we had lessons that we learned by the previous Parliament session in SONA, where we learned that we are going to stick to the issues, ask the President in a respectful manner. And I think we did mention in our press statement that we did have a public call where we stated that we're going to act in a respectful manner and we're going to address the issues that the people want us to address. But then we also gave it on the condition that the President does the same in terms of mutual response to mutual respect, answering the questions effectively. And if we feel that he is not upholding those instructions that we gave, that were given to us by our constituency, then we'll retaliate. What we saw was the President not willing to answer the questions in terms of the questions of the corruption questions that we asked, in particular the one of the Prime Minister, the alleged land deals, the corrupt land deals that were taken place through her office, the abuse of power. You saw that he was reluctant to answer. And then we also saw that firstly, Matthias, the presiding officer, before we even started with the session, came with a lot of demands, telling us to only have limited questions to 3 questions. Now, this is a chance where once in a year we get to hold the executive accountable. We get to hold the President accountable, and you're telling us 3 questions per session. It's not fair. Then we saw that he came with some form of attitude towards us. I remember even when my boss, Honorable Swarboy, stood up and he stated that, you know, there's an administration loophole in terms of the President not being able to answer all the questions. He respectfully gave orders to the staff, the parliamentary staff, to help the President in order to record the questions, to make sure that the SONA was effective. These rules and our efforts went on deaf ears. So what we saw was that SWAPO wanted to abuse and control the nature of the event. SWAPO wanted to get rid of LPM, and they used every means and form and any issue to get us out.
Yeah. Maybe on that note, there are some who feel that for LPM it's either your way or the highway. Is that what happened last week?
It wasn't how it happened. I stated earlier that we gave instructions. We participated in a respectful manner. But Matthias, how do you want us to then have a SONA where the President before time, and I remember the presiding officer did state that he's going to extend the time to allow for more members of opposition to give their questions. The President in return starts packing up his bags before time, before the end of time, because he already stated that he's no longer going to have this. We saw that the executive was abusing the power, and it wasn't fair. So it wasn't LPM or the highway, it was SWAPO or the highway.
Well, so going forward, because we saw that after what happened, after the commotion in Parliament, the session was suspended. So the issues that were supposed to be dealt with were not attended to. So going forward, what can we see as the public in terms of our lawmakers setting policy decisions for the country, for us as citizens?
This was basically the manifestation of the SWAPO caucus, because in the events that an altercation happens, then you could possibly just remove the unruly parliamentarians that you deem that they're unruly. You take them out and you continue with the session. Yeah. There was nothing stopping the presiding officer from continuing. What they wanted to do is not answer the questions of the opposition parties. And it also was evident as to how the president was answering the questions of that of PDM, the questions of that of NEF, our questions, etc. So there was already an agenda to not answer, especially when it comes to corruption claims, to not answer the questions of opposition. So rather, whether the session was ended before time, there was no purpose, because SONA in itself was ineffective, because the president had already a defensive mode of not answering questions or making little interjections to change the topic, and we saw that. And I don't know why you are also not highlighting it.
Yeah. So in terms of the presiding officer, who's really supposed to ensure that the business of the House goes forward, would you say there's a level of an element of targeting towards LPM as soon as they do this, we act in this manner?
We strongly believe that the presiding officer, together with the SWAPO caucus, want to always attack LPM. Now, we have seen it over the past few sessions. There will be times where he would be addressing the House, and he would state that, members of parliament, please let us behave, let us act accordingly, let us act honorably. But he would look in the direction of opposition. When little remarks are made in parliament and by the other aisle, he will then look at us while addressing SWAPO. And we would always say, now, but Speaker, you are talking to the honorable member from SWAPO. Why are you looking in our direction? Why are you addressing to us? Because, of course, the Speaker is incompetent. He's not able to control his own House. He's not able to control the SWAPO party. Therefore, he puts pressure on opposition to make us look like we are unruling. Come on, we are not crazy people that will just be standing up and acting like hooligans. We are not that. But we will respond when we deem it necessary, because we saw that there was a disrespect coming from the other side. We respond. But in terms of the effectiveness of the Speaker, he's incompetent, and from now on, we do not even want to listen to him when we go to Parliament. We will not listen to him until he resigns, because he's incompetent.
So one would then like to know, as in, are there other platforms which you guys engage the Speaker on outside the chamber?
Yes, we have. We had several meetings that were also published by the Parliament Facebook page, where we raised certain issues on security issues, on how we felt that sometimes the security outside would be unfair to opposition. They would let the SWAPO members walk through, and then they would start acting funny when opposition members come in, searching us as if we are coming to rob the place, as if we have interest in harming people. We don't. But then we did raise up the issues that we feel that he's being biased, and we feel that his conduct is not fair and he should change. We had several issues. In fact, we even wrote him several letters to state that we feel frustrated, and before this issue accelerates into something that we both do not want to, let us address the issue. But then, of course, the Speaker is the Speaker of SWAPO. He will not listen to anyone else but SWAPO.
Yeah. So how is his response during these engagements outside the chamber, when you write letters and when you met him? What was his response like?
In fact, we had to write several letters before he even gave us a chance for us to have courtesy with him. He would pretend that he wants to listen, but then in the back of his head, he knows that his agenda is just to support the ruling party. Yeah. He would come here, laugh with us, would have tea, and then the next day, when we're saying, look, Speaker, we want to meet, he will prolong the meeting sessions. He will prolong and say, look, he's busy, or they will address to it, they are looking into it. In fact, we wrote him, like, I feel, 4 to 5 letters before we even got to meet him this year. Yeah. So he's just an object of SWAPO. That's all I can say.
Yeah. So as a party, LPM feels that the presiding officer must step down.
He must step down. In fact, in regards to the SONA, there are very issues that we want to argue, because we're taking it from also a legal point of view. Firstly, he sent a letter to us, stating that according to Rule 124, subsection A, that our members, Honorable Swartboy and Honorable Seibep, will remain withdrawn from Parliament. Firstly, he single-handedly, using his office, he took that decision without the consent or the recommendation of the Standing Rules and Order Committees, which is the Privileges Committee. He abused his office, and we saw that he has an agenda. And also when it comes to the case, we are stating that why must he be the chairperson of the committee that has to look into the case of Honorable Seibep and Honorable Swartboy? Why doesn't he then step down and give it to Honorable Venani? We are seeing that it's a caucus that has already happened, and he's just here to execute on orders. Secondly, the public, in its form, the public has been, they have been complaining on the fact that he's incompetent, he cannot control the House. The fact that we become unruly is because the Speaker fails at all times to listen and to be fair and to be transparent. He pretends that he cannot hear insults from Swapo, but then all of a sudden we say something, order, order, he's in our faces, and that's wrong. Thirdly, what we're stating is that the Speaker, in his own power, decided not to look at the privileges and immunity that members of Parliament, Honorable Swartboy and Honorable Seibep, benefit in terms of the chambers. He allowed security forces, the bodyguard of the president, to come and forcefully abuse and forcefully assault our honorable member, which is wrong via the Constitution, and he did not condemn. In fact, we didn't see any letter of apology to our members of Parliament. We didn't see any letter of action from the Parliament towards the executive, reprimanding and condemning the action of the security forces that decided to illegally enter the chambers and assault and harass our members of Parliament, ignoring the security officials of Parliament, and he decided to take the matter in his own hands.
Yeah. So are we then saying that when the president enters the chamber, his security detail must remain outside?
Well, the executive is accountable to Parliament. So unless there is a threat to the president's life, the security should remain outside. And you have seen that there is a responsibility for the security of Parliament to come in and withdraw the members. Why must he then push? In fact, in the video, you saw that he pushed the security members away and decided to grab our honorable member and drag him out. So there was no threat. In fact, this is what we are also arguing, because we have taken the issue now to our lawyers. We are arguing on the withdrawal and the misconduct on how they treated our honorable members, in the fact that Honorable Seibep did not pose any threat to the president. If you look at the video, you would see that after he teared the papers, he was walking out to follow Honorable Swartboy. So where was the threat? And in fact, if there was a real threat, according to their investigative minds, if there was a real threat, they would have then formed a defense line in front of the president to protect him. You leave your president unprotected, unarmed, and you go to the perpetrator, then the president should fire his own security forces, because that's useless a way of protecting your president.
We understand that there are plans, I'm not sure how far it is now, to suspend the two leaders of the party. Has anything been communicated to you yet?
Apart from the letter that has been given to us on the 19th of April, which was yesterday, nothing has been communicated. In fact, with that regard, we are of the knowledge that the committee they had met at 11 o'clock and nothing has been given to us then. But because this is in the legal hands, in our legal hands, we do not have much to say. Yeah. Because we do not want to then be convicted on other further offenses that the speaker wants to put on us. But also to act on that, to add on that is that we have, on our own personal capacity, decided to write letters to the various embassies that are in solidarity with us, various organizations all over the world, to ensure, to expose the militarization state that SWAPO wants to come and bring into Namibia. Thirdly, we are going to have a protest tomorrow at 2 o'clock from our headquarters to Parliament to show the Speaker and his parliamentarians that we as the Landless People's Movement also come from a community, and that our leaders are elected members, and that the Speaker cannot override the laws such as the Electoral Act. In fact, the Speaker does not have power to remove an elected member. The Electoral Act states that it's only two institutions. The person who has signatory powers is the one that can remove a member, or if the party decides to remove the member, that's when that letter that they send to us is what would be referred to the Speaker. Yeah. But without that privilege and power, the Speaker is acting in his own delusion.
You spoke just moments ago of that you wrote to embassies that are in solidarity with you and so on. Remember when Honorable Wilho was in the House, there was a time he said that he has evidence that LPM seeks for answers and then feeds the information to international organizations. Perhaps how does that tie in with what you said now in the issue of writing to embassies and so on?
I think if you would have stated your question correctly, you would have known that, you would have stated it that Vilo was talking in terms of defense information, state security information. Now this is an issue of abuse of power. This is an issue of our democracy.
Between LPM and the international community.
Well, who doesn't go out and speak to the international communities? It's a democracy. I'm allowed to have relations with other political parties that have the same ideologies as I am. Yeah. So I don't even know why this is even a discussion, because it's a democracy. Come on now. Really, Mateus?
Yeah. No, definitely. One wonders also. It's not to say you're not allowed to do it. Obviously, you can interact with.
But then there is nothing. There is nothing linked to what Vilo has said. In fact, Vilo himself is the one that is tied with the corrupt people in Hong Kong, apache.com. So please, can we go to the next question? Let's not derail from the issue that we are here. Seriously.
On the next issue, perhaps, do you think the robust manner in which your party engages in Parliament gives birth to this notion that LPM is an unruly, dishonorable party? Do you think people are perhaps misconstruing the manner in which you tackle things?
I think the people that you are stating are saying that. I have not heard from that. Most of the time we have support. We have seen it in our Facebook comments. We have seen it on the ground. When we do work on the field, we get to hear praises of the people that are saying, look, we appreciate the fact that you are fighting now. Our position as the Landless People's Movement is to robustly debate the issues that affect our community. So whether it be that I have to drag and strip you naked so that you can listen to me, we will do so. Because if you look at the dynamics in politics, SWAPO for the first time has never had to lose their 2/3 majority. Secondly, they have never had to lose 2 regions to a political party. So in their minds, they still feel that they are supreme. They still feel like this is the time of the Lubango dungeons, but it's not. So sometimes when you need to get to the heads of people who are stubborn, you need to put force. And if you see, and if you really analyze our behavior in Parliament, there are most of the time where we state the issues and we're talking about the issues such as the drought issue. If you analyze the clip on the drought issue, then you would see that the SWAPO members were actually the ones interjecting in such an important national concern. And where were you to question the members of Parliament who were acting in that way? So sometimes when we need to push through an idea, sometimes when we need to fight, even the issue of the farms, you can already see by the body language of the Prime Minister and the President that they were not willing to answer and listen. So what do? You need to robustly demand to ensure that the nation gets to see the type of leadership that we have.
So if you don't get that response in terms of when you asked about the farms and so on, no response was given, what is the next possible step to take in that regard? Or does it just end there to show that we've shown you these are the type of leaders and it ends there?
No, we'll continue fighting. Like I said, we take it to the legal route, we take it to civil society, and we take it back to our electorate. The electorate are the people who have the power to change any situation in Namibia. So we go and expose, look, this is what your leaders are doing. Come 2024, vote them out.
Yeah.
Because clearly they do not want to account. And the ACC that has been placed by the executive is in cahoots with them. So
Yeah.
what other direction should you take by not making sure that people are educated to ensure that they will change when it comes 2024, that they will vote for change?
Yeah. Karas region, one of your stronghold areas. Swapo Party in that region claims that LPM is one of the suspects with regards to the vandalism that took place at their offices that side. What do you have to say about that?
Well, that's the most useless statement I've ever heard in my 25 years of living on this earth. In fact, it's political rhetoric. The Swapo Party wants to be relevant. They want to be fashionable, especially to the youth. And in that regard, they are making themselves look like an embarrassment to society. How is it that you, without evidence, claim that it's LPM? Look, you are a sour loser. You lost the elections. Get over it. Go back into the fields and work and ensure that people will vote for you come 2024. Don't come and start fights that you cannot handle. Now they are crying. They are looking like an embarrassment. They are trying to fight LPM while we clearly are the winners. We are the progressive forces. So I feel like that's just one of the most useless statements I've ever heard, coming from people who also lack intellectual capacity to run the Karas region. I feel like they should even be removed. In fact, this should be evidence to the SWAPO leadership for them to remove such useless people that make such useless statement, even wasting our time and even wasting, many people even have to pay for DSTV, but they are coming to watch this nonsense of people saying that. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Another issue is as lawmakers, you have the public looking at you, whether it's from a behavioral point of view, input, and so on. How do we ensure that the rift that's there between political parties doesn't spill over to our communities? Because you have followers. The ruling party, which is your competition, also has followers. So how do we ensure that the robust nature in which you guys interact in parliament doesn't spill over to communities?
Now, the robust nature that we argue on an intellectual base. So if you are saying that the community should argue and fight on an intellectual base, then why should we condemn it? If it means that people are woke, if it means that people are willing to challenge the system that has been oppressing us over the past 31 years, if you mean that people should stand up and actually start asking the questions that have to be asked, then there's no condemning from that point, because that is what LPM does in parliament.
Well, you just spoke. I'm not just speaking of LPM in isolation.
Even opposition,
yeah, opposition, Swapo Party also. You just mentioned now about the lack of, as far as knowledge is concerned in the southern region of Karas. Those people are followers. So if you say their leaders are lacking the necessary intelligence, what about their followers who also want to defend their party at all costs?
In fact, their followers must just come to LPM because there's no hope there. Next question.
Yeah. The party's political program, LPM, the ancestral land issue has been central, especially to the establishment of the party. How has the current fracas in parliament affected that?
I mean, we have seen that we actually looked into the report given by the commission with regards to the ancestral land, and we gave our pointers. We stated that this is one of the most useless and useful report that we have seen. We gave our pointers to the president with regards to the commission on how things should be handled. More investigation has to be done. Ancestral land has always been a top priority to the Landless People's Movement. And mind you, you are speaking as if this is the only SONA that we have left. Come 2022, 2023, these are the issues that will continue pushing. So with that regard, it has not stopped any project of the party. It has not stopped our mission, our ideologies. It has just strengthened us to speak more louder.
Yeah. What if the SONAs going forward until 2024 are like the SONA of last week?
Then you should speak to your president to then act in a manner that he wants to account to the president.
I'm asking those who are supposed to keep him accountable.
To keep who?
I'm asking one of the parties that are supposed to keep the executives accountable.
But I think you are becoming very objective, because now you are stating as if the whole world is against what LPM did.
No, I'm not even.
People are not against what opposition is doing. In fact, people are excited to have a parliament that is willing to hold government accountable.
And that's why I'm asking, if you are not happy with the manner in which the president answered, so if he comes back next year and he's still the same attitude, what can we see? That's what I'm asking.
Then we will act in the same way until he accounts. That's what I'm going to state.
Okay, no, very well. In terms of progress so far, since you joined Parliament, what can you say? Are you happy?
We are happy and satisfied with our progress in the recent years, just in a period of 2 years. Of course, we have had 4 MPs in Parliament. Now we have about 62 regional councillors. We have 2 regions that we govern. We have 10 now combined with the National Council. We are official opposition. In combining the National Council and National Assembly, we are about 10 MPs. We are happy. We have actually had a very progressive program last week in Mariental to give training on effective governance, on leadership to our councillors. So we are very much satisfied in the direction that we are going. We have started development projects which we will be releasing soon via the communications department. We are very much pleased with our performance and our growth.
Yeah. Just lastly, tomorrow's demonstration, march, what can be expected?
What will be expected is that we are tired. Enough is enough. We are no longer going to allow the SWAPO government to come and dictate and intimidate us. What you are going to expect is people who are fed up with the system, people who are fed up with corruption, people who are fed up with leaders who do not want to account to the systems that have been placed via our constitution. That is what you are going to see tomorrow.
Okay. Ms. Mootu, thank you very much for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.